Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. It's the final days of our Black Friday sale. Recharge this season with a bundle of cozy, soothing comfort. Now only $17.99 for our C2 mattress and base, plus free premium delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
We all know those GLP-1 injections work wonders, but that price tag almost gave me a heart attack when my insurance denied coverage. I was staring at a choice between paying my mortgage or paying for weight loss. Talk about a rock and a hard place. Then I found Elevate Health compounded semaglutide at just $58 with payment plans that don't require a second mortgage. Same medication, same results, but a price that real folks can actually afford. Visit joinelevate.com today. That's JOINELEVATE.com. Your wallet will be as happy as your waistline. This medication is not FDA approved.
Good evening, everybody. It is Sunday, May 12th, and this is Doing the Thing. I am Lekhika Chaudhary, and I am here with ZARD Radio Station's Anoushka, Ashleigh Stiles, and Nathan Eckersley.
Hello.
To talk about everything that's happening in our worlds this week. How are we, guys? How's everyone doing?
All good, thanks.
Good. Anoushka, Ashleigh?
Good over here too.
Good. Yes. So, good. So, if everyone, or if anyone, I should say, is listening live on ZARD Radio, where we do the thing live every Sunday at 8 in the UK, you can get involved as follows. You can tweet us or DM us on Instagram and Twitter at Wiz Radio. You can even drop us a text 078 071 83538. You can email us station@wizardradio.com, and as always, all of our contact details are on our website www.wizardradio.com. So guys, how is everybody? Everybody, can I just start off by saying enjoying the weather, because it is beautifully warm outside and I'm obsessed.
Yeah. Well, it was until about 30 minutes ago. Now it's looking grey, and I don't know how well that bodes.
I think in some parts of the country, I don't know.
Yeah, where I am anyway.
But I know up north it started to rain, so.
Oh no!
Yeah, we got the rain about half an hour ago. It wasn't great, but apart from that, it's been delightfully warm. I mean, we're not used to such warmth in the north, but.
Okay, I had such high hopes for this question because it is gorgeous outside, and it was 28 degrees up until like 20 minutes ago. I was like, guys, everyone's gonna be like, I have barbecues planned for this weekend. Sorry, I did not know it was raining. You know, I should check other weather besides the like little area that I live in.
I only heard because my dad told me. Other than that, it's sunny where I am too. So
yeah, it's hot. Well, hot. I say hot.
Nice.
But how's everybody's week been? Good. Has everybody had a good week?
Yeah, very good. Thanks. And you?
Yeah, I've had an okay week. Has anybody watched? I think we go straight into our first thing. Has anybody watched Eurovision this week?
No, I didn't. And that was an omission. I watched it last year and the year before, had a great time with both. This year, a confluence of things, I think, and I didn't end up watching it.
I was just going to say, I think I watched it once fully, and it was really fun. I was like, oh, this is really fun. And then I have never watched it since, but every year I get invited to Eurovision watch parties, and I'm just like, I don't feel like I'm a big enough like fan for this, but every year I hear about how badly the UK does, and I feel like I guess that's a trend. But apparently we came 18th out of, is it 26 or 28, like
28, I think,
something like that. But this time it was someone famous. This is the first time I've known the person who's actually, you know, singing. It's somebody it's Ollie Alexander from Years and Years, right? So I expected him to do better, I guess, than 18th.
Well, it requires a bit of Eurovision insider knowledge. Which is your singing ability doesn't necessarily correlate with how well you'll do. Well, it's been jokingly described as what Europe does these days instead of war with each other is Eurovision. Um, and it's you get a lot of influence in the voting. A lot of the Nordic countries tend to vote for each other. Sweden, Norway, Denmark, they all vote for each other every time. Infamously, the UK and Germany tend not to get a lot of votes, excepting a couple of occasions. Sam Ryder came second. I think he should have won that year. It was 2 years ago now, I think. Yeah, which is why when Ukraine couldn't host, we hosted it because we came second. So we do occasionally do well. And he was actually a very good act. But the skill of the act is not necessarily commensurate with your performance. That having been said, frankly, having seen a bit of Ollie Alexander's performance, it was never going to be a winning performance. I don't think, compared to some of the other acts. And I'm not trying to be cruel here, but it's a crowded field, and you got to really be on top of your game. There were some technical problems in the setup. I heard his mic pack fell off or something. In any event, you just couldn't cut the mustard.
So it's a popularity contest.
Yes. It's always debatable what factors influence who does well. The year Ukraine won was the year that Russia invaded Ukraine, so there was the suggestion that there were a lot of sympathy votes going to Ukraine. That year, I will say, their act was also quite good, so that it was also a good act. It wasn't just that, but there's also things that sort of play into it like that as well, I guess.
And then Switzerland has won it this year, I think?
Yeah, no one I've ever heard of. And that's the other thing, though. You mentioned Ollie Alexander's famous.
Yeah.
The usual thing, the done thing, the proprietor's thing, is to not send someone famous. You're supposed to send someone who's relatively new or obscure that shows off kind of what's going on in your country's music scene at that moment in time. This doesn't always happen. Sometimes people send like older bands that are sort of like coming back around. Sweden, I thought they won last year. I thought they were a little unfair. They sent someone who had won Eurovision before, back in 2012. I thought that was a little cheap, sending a previous winner. But yeah, famously Britain in particular, we have a lot of big international pop acts that we, broadly speaking, don't send.
I didn't know that they could send people again. That seems like a hack.
I know.
That seems like cheating. That's like the Hunger Games. You're being called from the same group of people. Like, you've got to go back again. Like, once you won Eurovision, I think they should be saved from having to do Eurovision again. That seems very unfair.
It's like for example, like X Factor, you'd never get the same person go back again, right? When that was around.
No, I think they're only allowed to audition once or something, right?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't realize that you could get a second go around until they did, but it's happened before. Ireland, I think they've had a guy win twice or three times, twice as a singer and then once as a writer of the winning song. So they, I guess, really like that guy. I don't know a huge amount about it.
I think Sweden sent ABBA a couple of times as well back in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. Well, that's another sort of factor thing. A lot of people thought that one of the reasons why Sweden won last time round, and they did have a good act as well, but another thing that played into it was they wanted to give it to Sweden because it would be the 50th anniversary of Waterloo. So it'd be back in Sweden, 50th anniversary. You get ABBA to come on to do some songs because there's always the main act to the final, and then they usually get a local act. When it was in Italy, they had Mika come on and do a bunch of songs as well. So you get someone who's famous locally, you come on board for a bit. So.
Sounds kind of a bit useless, doesn't it? It seems a bit useless. Like they're just recycling, and what's the point?
I like that, recycling.
Ulterior motives, yeah.
Yeah.
Just bring the same people back
again.
Well,
the point is that it isn't supposed to be serious. Australia is now in Eurovision. They were supposed to be a guest country.
Yes, this made no sense to me because as someone who knows a little bit of geography, it was very baffling to me that Australia came to Eurovision and then they've just let them stick around. Make that make sense?
That's basically it. It's not supposed to be a serious song contest as a judge of the skill of the singer. It's part of it is about the performance as well. There's a whole stage thing you do as well. So it's the dancing, it's the singing, it's the choreography, the lighting, and then there's whatever is going on in Europe at the time that will also influence who votes for who and such.
That's very interesting. I've learned so much about Eurovision.
I don't know that much about Eurovision, to be honest. I've only caught snippets on TV. But you would hope that the intention would be to kind of unite countries across Europe. But I know for sure
that's a tough task to put on a music contest, right?
True, but essentially bring everybody together.
Yeah.
you know, celebrate like diversity. But
Yeah, I think that was always the original idea of the Eurovision Contest, to try and bring all the different countries together, considering the vast and complicated history that Europe's had and various different conflicts and unions and all the rest of it. I think that was kind of the original idea. But as you were saying, Ashley, it's about, it's obviously about trying to find a good song, good performance, all the rest of it. And I think over the last few years, it's become almost a bit too professionalized in some ways. It's all about a slick performance, and I suppose in more recent years about a good PR, social media presentation as well. Whereas originally, when you kind of look back to Eurovision in the 70s and 80s, it was just about a fun song. It was a decent performance, and a bit of politics in there, but generally it was just about who was the most entertaining on the night. And I mean, the UK's never exactly had the most illustrious past when it comes to Eurovision. But at the same time, I think within recent years, there has been this kind of professionalization of it. And over the last couple of years, the UK sent professional singers and songwriters. And I don't know, maybe it needs to get back to a more amateur level of singing and songwriting for Eurovision to try and get back to the heart of it. I suppose in some way, if you think to the Olympics, the Olympics is supposed to be for amateur athletes. I mean, obviously they are at the top of their field if they're getting to the Olympics, but nonetheless, I suppose one could apply the same theory to Eurovision. If we take it back a step, take it back from this almost a commercialization of Eurovision, make it about just the songwriting ability, make it about the performing ability, not just about how well you can market the song, the competition, or the singer.
make it just add the element of, or reintroduce the element of humanity.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, this last year has been kind of nebulous. Like, the last 2 years I watched it, it was very much the top acts were the ones that were just the most entertaining. Måneskin from Italy, they're like a big rock act. They won with a really, pulse racing kind of song. Last year, Finland, with a song with people dressed in cha-cha outfits about drinking pina coladas, they came second, and they should have won. They got robbed. But I think there's still elements where, because there's the jury vote and there's the popular vote, which is always a very weird way to do it. So each country has like a panel that it picks on. I don't know how they pick the panel. And they get like a selection of votes. And then it goes over to phone-in votes from every country that's a participant. And then they get to vote. So it's always interesting to see the jury vote and then the popular vote, because then you get to see like who the people watching at home really liked versus who the sort of juries liked. And this was a big thing last year. The jury all voted for Sweden. The popular vote all went to Finland, but Sweden got more votes overall, so they won. And it's like, well.
This sounds like political elections where you have people winning the popular. This sounds this was like ringing bells in my brain. And I was like, something politics, something like. The only year, I think I watched it all the way back in, I'm going to say 2013, around that time. And all I can remember from it, like I've seen obviously clips of it, but all I can remember from it is whoever represented Iceland then, he sang like a very good ballad, and that's still in my Spotify playlist 10 years later. Like, I don't know his name. I obviously do not know what the song is talking about because it's not in a language I know. But every time it comes up on my playlist, like every 6 months, because my playlist has like 20,000 songs on it, and I'll be like, oh, that one Eurovision song that I like. And I don't even think he came in like the top 15 because everyone was like, that was so boring. But I was just like, that is one song that I remember after like, it's been over a decade now. That's my only sole Eurovision memory, you guys. My sole Eurovision memory.
I think the only Eurovision song I remember is, I'm not the world's biggest Eurovision fan, but I think the is an Icelandic from a couple of years ago. They had those daft jumpers on with the faces. I can't remember the name of it.
Yes.
What do you think about Things? Something like that.
Think About Things, yeah. Daði Freyr was the artist.
Something about Iceland, you guys. Something about Iceland. We all remember. And there was somebody singing about toys. I'm Not Your Toy. That's the song, right? I don't think I watched it. I don't know. I will find this out and tell you guys afterwards. But that one Iceland song, and it's just this one guy with like gorgeous hair, and he's just standing in the middle of the stage, just singing, like he's just belting out this ballad. Brilliant. That's the kind of concerts, that's the kind of music scenarios like I want to go for. I just want to go and I watch one person just stand on a stage and sing. Like that's the kind of thing I'd pay good money for.
I think that gets to the heart of Eurovision as well. The fact that, like, in regards to the Icelandic artist as well. I'm sorry, Ashley, you know the name. I can't remember. Is it Doddy something?
Yeah,
or other?
it's Doddy Freya. That D is like a
Doddy
TH in
Freya. Thank
Icelandic.
you. Yeah. Thank you. Doddy Freya. It was really simple as well. It was quite a catchy song. They had some Duff jumpers on. It was a ridiculous dance that I think did well on TikTok or something. And that kind of gets to the heart of what Eurovision is. It's that uniting thing. It's something that lots of people can just get on board with. A song that's a bit daft, a dance that's a bit daft, and it's just that feel good factor. And I think, as I was saying before, with some of the acts, you kind of lose that sort of feel good factor with it. It all gets a bit too tightly choreographed or too tightly production managed. The song's a bit too manicured, things like that.
Like a professional concert.
I get exactly.
That. Sometimes you see clips and you don't even know that they're Eurovision. You think it's people actually performing, and then you're like, wait, who is this person? I get that. I fully get that. But I get it. Maybe in a couple of years it'll get back to the more, like the stripped back version. We don't know. But right now I agree with you. It's like super choreographed and everything, which is very cool as well. Like that's a really cool ability to have. But like you said, that's not the basis of what Eurovision is. But continuing with the music theme, Nathan, I hear that you live up north. You're in Manchester. You guys have a new arena opening up.
We do, yes. We have the new, highly controversial Co-op Live, or it's been given the delightful nickname, the Co-Flop Live locally, because they have had a number of teething problems, to put it nicely, in the opening of the new arena. So we were supposed to get this new state-of-the-art music venue, the Co-op Live, I think it was 2 weeks ago, and it's been built for a couple of years. This is going to be the cutting edge of music performance. It is going to be the premier music venue in all of Europe, and artists and bands at the very top of the music industry are just going to be absolutely begging and queuing up to be performing at Co-op Live. And it was due to open 2 weeks ago, and then all of a sudden, it just wasn't. Okay, what's going on? Turns out there were all sorts of problems in the construction of it. They'd been rushing parts of it. They'd not finished parts of it. The place is still a construction site, even now when it's supposed to be open. Peter Kay, the brilliant Bolton comedian, was supposed to be the opening act for it. His show's been postponed twice. Because Peter Kay was cancelled, the next opening act was due to be, and being very modern here and knowing this, a Boogie with the Hoodie. He was supposed to be opening it. His show got cancelled. There were a couple of others. Keane, the band from a few years ago, they were supposed to be celebrating their 20th anniversary at Co-op Live. That got moved to Manchester Arena, now known as the AO Arena, after having a number of different names over the last few years. So Keane's been moved over there. A few others have been moved over there to the existing arena. And now Olivia Rodrigo as well. She had her concerts postponed as well. So there's been a massive fallout about this locally. It's been all over the Manchester Evening News and all the other local papers. And this is now the third music and arts arena that we've got in Manchester. And Manchester, of course, has a wonderful heritage and history when it comes to music and creativity. And yet, whilst it's been hyped to be this amazing thing, it's just not materialized. And even now, some of the shows are having to be cancelled and postponed or just moved elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think before we start discussing this is a good time for a quick break, but we will be right back where we will discuss this new arena and all of the others, and we will discuss, does the North even need a new arena? Right now, though, we'll be back after this short break.
Welcome back to Doing the Thing. Now, just before the break, we were talking about the new Co-op Live arena in Manchester. Now, as you may detect from my accent, I do come from Manchester, and so this is a particularly interesting story for me, and we've been talking about kind of the weeks of delays and cancelled gigs and whether or not the North actually needs another arena. So, Anoushka, do you think the North needs another music venue?
I think that there's always, like, I don't know, I'm all for it because I think that, obviously the music venue can then be hired for other things as well. And I think, I can't remember how many years ago it was, but there was the bombing incident with one of Ariana Grande's concerts, right? And so I think that's obviously probably relatively imprinted, upon the minds of local people. So having a new music venue could just be something fresh. It wipes sort of the slate clean. I don't know. I mean, obviously, beyond that, that's sort of the main benefit that I see, and I just think, it just provides potential opportunities that I can't figure out what they'll be, but I think that there's they would, it just adds it opens more doors, as well as I think potentially wipes the memory clean of the incident from that concert. So that's benefit that I see.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Manchester Arena bombing had such a huge impact on people right across the Greater Manchester area. I think everyone knows someone or knows someone who knows someone who's at the concert that night, who maybe even lost someone that night, or was somehow involved or intertwined with that event. So it left a huge impression on the city. And of course, in 2017, it's really not that long ago. So it's still very fresh in the memory of so many people. But at the same time, I think it's an interesting point. It's important to, whilst acknowledging what happened, try and move away from that, try and move forward in some ways. And perhaps the Co-op Live Arena is a way to do that. I mean, the Manchester Arena, the AO Arena, as we have it now, it was built in it was opened in the mid-90s. So it's been going a long time. It's seen all sorts of acts and various bands and things like that over many, many years. And so in some ways, it is starting to feel tired. It's time for something new. But at the same time, we only recently had the new Factory International Aviva Studios open in Manchester, which again was supposed to be for the Manchester International Festival, which we host in this city every year, and it attract artists and singers, songwriters, poets, authors, actors from all over the world to this event. And so it's a real kind of multi-purpose venue, the Aviva Studios. Again, that's not been without its controversies, most notably the cost, the necessity for it, all that sort of thing. But I suppose the Co-op Live Arena, the USP for it was always its musical ability, the fact that you couldn't get a sound anywhere quite like it anywhere else in the north of England. I don't know, Ashleigh, what do you think?
I think it's an interesting discussion to be had about, the sort of infrastructure across the north in general. Manchester, to my mind, is always been a very culturally significant city in the UK. Along with Liverpool, you've got a kind of belt that goes across the northwest of a densely populated area with a lot of cultural output. I would be interested in whether there's any room for any of that to spread to the northeast. I'm over in West Yorkshire, and Leeds, Bradford has some things. There's Anne Arena and Stadium in Leeds. But not much beyond that. And if you want to go up to York or anywhere, it's just nothing. Everybody just commutes into Leeds as a sort of central hub for any sort of cultural event if you want to do anything. So I think it's a good thing in general, is building more cultural outlets. I'd like to see more of that across more places. But I can't really think of any reason why it would be bad, other than if you could use the space for something else, if there was demand for something else, and I'm not aware of any competing projects for that area.
Yeah, I come very much from the free market tradition of build the venues and let bands and people and promoters just compete, just try and attract the audiences from that perspective. But you may remember from last year. Do you remember when there was that big planning battle in London for the Sphere? They've got in Las Vegas, there was the Sphere. Let's try and build one in London. And then the NIMBYs got their way, and Sadiq Khan, the mayor of London, overruled it. There was to be no Sphere. Ben Houchin, the Conservative mayor of Tees Valley, he sent a pitch to Madison Square Garden saying, no, okay, London clearly doesn't want it. Bring it to the northeast. Let's have a Sphere right here, and let's make it an attraction for all of Europe. And then I think Madison Square Gardens gave a pass to that one. But I don't know, maybe that was a bit of a wasted opportunity. The northeast, obviously, a prime position for new investments, new opportunities. Maybe the northeast was a prime candidate for a Sphere. Move it out of the city centres. Take it somewhere that perhaps hasn't had that sort of investment or cultural capital for quite some time. What do you think, Lekhika?
So I'm going to start off by saying I realized that I don't know much about the UK geography. I was mapping while you guys were talking. I was closing my eyes and trying to map out. I was like, okay, Leeds. I have not traveled to the north of the UK. But from what you said earlier, there were already two venues in Manchester, but clearly they saw, I guess, a need for another one. I don't think there's anything, like everyone else has said, I don't think there's anything wrong with it per se, but I'm also like a big believer in there needs to be more things up north anyways. So I'm part of a friend group and we're spread out all throughout the UK, and whenever we're trying to organize meeting up, everyone ends up having to come down to London. Now that makes things easier for me. I live in West London. That's not fair on everyone else. And I see their complaints. They're always like, oh, I always have to get concert tickets here in London. And I always have to buy tickets for London, or either I have to go all the way up to, say, Manchester, for example, because they don't have anything where they are. So I think the only thing I would say is, whilst it's great that there's another one opening, I mean, it's not so great that they've had all of these delays, but I think they're meant to open day after tomorrow. So fingers crossed that goes well. But I think if there's something else that's bound to open, maybe they start opening in other places. Because a lot of people say, oh, there's no need to open it there because there's no requirement for it. But how do you know when you don't have anything there? You know, like, how do you not know that people from other cities commute all the way down to London? Because I know so many people, and I did very rarely go to concerts and stuff, but recently I went to Bristol for a concert because I couldn't get London tickets, and the whole organization of it was so much hassle. Like, it was great, Bristol's great, gorgeous, whatnot, but I get what people feel when they're coming, you know, all the way down to London. They're traveling on trains for 4 hours. So if there's more things to be opened up north, then I'm here for it.
I agree with you, and I think it's kind of unfair to have everything so centralized. And also, like, when you were speaking, I was thinking about, like, a lot of my friends from up north, people that live around me that are from up north, there's this belief, or like maybe it's a stereotype, that Londoners and Southerners are not quite so friendly compared to, you know, I think it's pretty fair to say, I think it's pretty accurate. And yes, that might be because London is so busy, and so, but then there's almost like a sense of, perhaps it might actually be nicer for everybody up north to feel like, okay, we have something for us, and this will inject a little bit of life for us. So it's not just sort of something where it's like, oh, hi, these are these friendly northerners with, you know, those are time on their hands, if that is I've never heard that, but you know what I mean? Because there can be an arrogance, I think, that comes with being a Londoner. And
I get that point. Plus, I think what London shows is that we have so many of these venues and they're always busy. I'm sure the same thing can happen up north.
For sure.
Like, I'm sure there's
opportunity, right?
Exactly. So I think if more things are opening up north, then that's brilliant. And I'm sure that once this gets through all the teething issues, this new place will start to succeed on higher levels. And it's good for artists as well, because they're only coming to London, and then everybody only comes to London. It's good for there to be more, you know, economic circulation, or whatever, for a lack of a better word, in different places than just London.
Absolutely. And it's also important to kind of get out of the cities as well, you know, get into other places. So an example that springs to my mind is, yes, we've been talking about the Co-op Live Arena. There's Manchester Arena that's already there. There's Aviva Studios, Factory International, also in the city centre. You know, those are all major arts venues. But at the same time, and again, Liverpool as well. I mean, they hosted Eurovision last year, as we were talking about earlier. You know, Liverpool, a great musical heritage. But move a little bit outside of Liverpool, you've got the town of Prescott, where only a couple of years ago, they opened a recreation of Shakespeare's Globe. Because there's part of Shakespeare's life that he spent in the north of England, around the Prescott, Merseyside area. And so to try and honour the Shakespearean links there, community funds, lottery funding, all sorts of different fundraising activities were able to generate enough cash to build a recreation of Shakespeare's Globe to present Shakespeare and other artists to people outside the city centres, in quite a deprived part of the north of England. And I know certainly at this Shakespeare North Playhouse that they've opened in Prescott, they do a lot of schools outreach as well, you know, getting younger children engaged with Shakespeare, engaged with English literature and theatre. And that, I suppose, that can only be a good thing, really. But what do you think, Ashleigh?
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. I think there needs to be more funding for things like this. Even if that has to come sort of from centrally, because it's hard for local polities to raise sufficient capital to build really any sorts of projects, especially cultural projects. I found an interesting sort of segment of online discourse of people sort of looking at, in particular sense to like university sort of things, people looking at doctoral theses for anything that's like humanities space and going, well, isn't this ridiculous? Isn't this a waste of time? A study of XYZ, Shakespearean thing. Why are we funding this? And it's like, well, that's important as well, actually. And I think that attitude kind of trickles down towards like, well, we need funding for a new theatre. Let's do a recreation of the Globe. I think a lot of council planners looking at a spreadsheet will go, well, do we really need this? And I think that there's an intangible benefit towards cultural investment that can be hard to quantify, which I think is part of the reasons why we don't have enough of it. But I think there should be more.
Yeah.
I agree. Sorry, I'm just gonna jump in. As an avid lover of Shakespeare's Globe, and I go every summer, I love that there's another one up north because it's not viable for people to be able to take time out to come all the way down here in the south to watch it. And it's brilliant. It's one of my favorite things about London. You get a £5 standing ticket and you go watch a play, and it's amazing. And I love Shakespeare. I've grown up studying Shakespeare here and back home. And so the fact that they've got a recreation and then they go to schools, I love that. I love it when schools incorporate literature to a point, because we're going off tangent, but when you study literature, I feel like it involves you, and as someone who moved to the UK, it immerses you in the country that you're in so much more than, because maths and science, all of those things are standard all across. Trigonometry doesn't change whether you're studying it in India or the Netherlands or the UK, like it doesn't matter. But I feel like history and history also, not to an extent, but English literature is so important and so valid, and it was so good to study the books and to study the plays, I should say, and then watch them live. So the fact that that's also now starting to happen in other places, because you can, and they can take primary school kids on school trips. Like, I love that. This is like filling my heart with joy. I love this.
Yeah, the promotion of arts and humanities is something I'm really, really passionate about. It's something I've spoken a few times about on my show as well, about the fact that, particularly in higher education in universities, obviously there are a number of issues with higher education. Finance cuts have to be found. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be in arts and humanities programs. I think it was one of the universities in either the Midlands or the South of England. They announced an absolutely appalling set of cuts that was going to stop programs in English, in history, in classics, in archaeology, and it's soul destroying. Arts and humanities nourish the soul, and I suppose I'm something of a romantic when it comes to this sort of thing, but absolutely, we have to promote and champion arts and humanities at all levels, starting from primary school age. Encourage children from a young age to even just engage with some brilliant Shakespeare texts, for example. I remember when I was younger, there was fantastic box set of books as like introductions to Shakespeare's plays. It was, I think there were about 15 books that converted Shakespeare's plays into short stories. It's introduced Julius Caesar, Romeo and Juliet, Much Ado About Nothing, Winter's Day, all of them. It was brilliant. It was a wonderful introduction. And, we absolutely, of course, like STEM subjects are hugely important to our society, not least with the rise of AI and engineering, scientific developments, climate change, things like that. Of course, STEM is important, but it should never, ever, ever come at the expense of arts and humanities,
I think,
in my view.
Arts and humanities, they evoke it's interesting how the conversation's kind of taken this direction, because we were talking about with Eurovision, that sense of humanity, and with arts and humanities, obviously you can get some plays, well, majority of the plays are quite tragic, but they still evoke some kind of emotional response and some kind of empathy. And that AI and robots, I don't think that's kind of the one quality that is irreplaceable at the moment. Exactly. So there's a lot of power in that. But,
and I also think sorry, I was just saying, I think there's a lot to learn with arts and humanity and like poetry and stuff. I'm biased, so my name means writer in Hindi, so I write all the time and I love it. And there's something that poetry and plays and music and different forms of art, like it doesn't matter what medium it is, it's something that it's so special. And it's really upsetting when you hear about cuts and stuff, because they're cutting all of these things. And sure, maybe you don't see them as viable futures. And it's also a thought process that a lot of people hold. They're like, oh, if you're not studying STEM, what's the point of doing higher education? And sometimes it's just the pursuit of knowledge. Like, I think this mentality of you have to go uni to have a career is just not right. Sometimes you just want to go uni for the sake of learning more about this thing that you love. Like, Someone's going to uni because they want to learn more about English literature, let them. Just because I'm going to uni to then work and get into a career, that doesn't mean that their aim to going to uni is not as important. It is. It's equally, and in some ways perhaps more important, because they will further that knowledge on. I'm just learning for the sake of learning and getting a job.
Yeah,
There's passion
absolutely,
behind
and
what you're doing.
definitely, and I think I suppose going back to the heart of what we were saying earlier, but music as well. Music is such a core part of arts and humanities education, but also just a core part of our society, our civilization. Music has played such a key part in the greatest moments of history, and again, this is another part of the education system that's continuously cut back and cut back and cut back. And again, bringing it back to a Manchester context, another music venue that we have is the Bridgewater Hall, where the Halle Orchestra play, a wonderful orchestra. And for any Mancunians listening, if you find out that the Halle are playing on a particular day, you can actually get hot seat tickets for £10 tickets. It makes it so accessible to people. You can hear the greatest works of music by the most accomplished and brilliant composers, played by a world-class orchestra for £10 a ticket if you see it on the day. So, again, initiatives like that to make music more accessible. Music doesn't just have to be limited to a classroom or in school or something you listen to on the radio, on a CD, on your streaming service. It's something that can be accessible to all.
That accessibility issue, I think, is really interesting, especially when we're talking about it in the context of theatre, because I think that a big thing, both in terms of the perception and the reality, is that theatre has, I don't know, it is or has become inaccessible, in terms of like thinking, oh, well, you have to go see it. In the UK, it'd be West End, in America, it'd be Broadway. You got to go see it in one of the big venues with a big cast, and those will easily run you hundreds of quid a ticket. But having options that are something that's not that is, people can actually feel like they can just go to and go and see. That's an important part of getting people to actually utilize the things that are there.
Yeah, I think first, I like one thing about what London has, which is that if you're under 25, you can get opera and ballet tickets super cheap. So that's something that's very cool that you can sign up. But also, I have not seen any of the big famous plays that are on in London. It's only because they cost so much. The only one I saw was the year it came out. I watched the Harry Potter play. And then I regretted watching the Harry Potter play, but that's a conversation for a different day. But I recently went to watch a play at the Trafalgar Theatre, and it was not a very famous play. It was just a small play that I saw online, and I think tickets were like 20 quid. And it was so good. And I was like, why have I been depriving myself of it? Oh, because every time I want to watch a play, I Google the big ones and they're like £200, and then I just never look past that. So I completely agree, is that it seems so inaccessible. And a lot of Londoners feel like it's inaccessible because of how expensive it is. So let alone people who are trying to come into London from outside of London, which is why I guess it's so important to have other places, especially in other places that are London. I feel like basically what I'm trying to say is that there's so much happening in this one city. I would like it if the same happens in other cities, because it just seems very, very unfair. It's just very unfair. I just feel really sad all the time when all of my friends who don't live in London or don't live near London, and they're like, yeah, there's no concerts happening near us because they're all happening near you. And I'm like, I'm really sorry, you guys. You can come and stay in my house and we can go to the concert together, but I'm really sorry that they're not happening. And it's so I'm happy that there's another, venue opening up. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And I think this will be a good place for us to take a little breather and grab a glass of water. And we will be right back with more conversation just after this next short break.
Hello and welcome back to Doing the Thing on Wizard Radio. Before the break, we were having a bit of a discussion about accessibility to things like arts, coming off the back of the new theatres being built. In terms of accessibility to things, though, segueing very nicely into a next sort of angle of discussion, I wanted to talk a bit about a couple of developments that have been happening in the world of social media, in particular the launch over the past year of paid elements for social media sites. Twitter now has, X Premium, it's now called, formerly I believe Twitter Blue. I'm not certain if X Premium is supposed to be the successor, if it's the same thing, a little bit different. And then Meta, formerly Facebook, has, still Facebook, but it's Facebook verified by Meta. So there's a Facebook verified and Twitter X Premium or Twitter Blue, which are now like the paid tiers. I believe, Nathan, you might have something interesting to say on this.
Yeah, I mean, I so to declare an interest, I do pay for X Premium, or well, Twitter Blue when I originally did it. Uh, I can't say I'm overly bothered about a blue tick. That's kind of by the by. I know a lot of people did it for their blue tick, but fundamentally, I did it just because I like some of the perks for it. So, say for example, during the week, because I run a current affairs news politics show for this radio station, I see a lot of tweets or interesting perspectives, things I'll agree with, things I don't agree with throughout the week. So I think, okay, I might want to refer back to that. So one of the key features of that is within bookmarks on X or Twitter, whatever you like to call it. If you do the premium version, you can have folders within that, and you can save certain tweets to certain folders. For me, that is a massive benefit. It saves me a lot of time when planning shows or wanting to refer back to things, even if it's as simple as I don't know. I saw a recipe for something online. On someone had posted on Twitter. Thought, oh, I want to make that at another time. I'll save it into a recipes folder, for example. It doesn't have to necessarily be for a specific purpose. It's that added convenience. Similarly, I mean, I'm not a massive tweeter. I'm mostly a retweeter and a liker, but nonetheless, if I did more tweeting, then because I have a premium subscription, I can actually get some cash back for that. So, for the engagement, for the ad revenue, things like that. So, I see a lot of benefits to it. That's why I did it. But as I say, I've not used the new Meta premium. What do you think, Anoushka?
I don't know. I think I'm quite divided upon this. So, like, I, my thought process is probably a little different to what you guys have sort of already mentioned. But I think that social media, I mean, part of the charm is the fact that it's accessible for everybody. Again, like another theme that has like cropped up once again. And I think that I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't really say it's sort of like anything that I feel completely passionate over in terms of like this particular thing, but I think that it would strip away a lot of opportunities for people all over the world should people have to pay for social media. I think that on the other hand, though, when it comes to down to things, and you get nasty people like trolls and everything online, may help to deter that. But I don't know. I think if people determine to be a certain way, they might end up sort of still persisting through. But yeah, it's not really something. I don't know. I mean, there are benefits. If you have to pay, perhaps for the younger generation. I'm not sure what the age limit is for Twitter, actually. If there is a limit.
Is it 13? I'm not too sure.
Okay.
It might be 13.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously Twitter it's I don't think that is obviously more of a discussion-based platform, but I think that parents might feel like there's a little bit more control over certain things as well. So pros and cons. I'm kind of on the fence regarding this one, but yeah. What about you, Lekhika?
So I love Twitter. It might be my favorite. If I had to delete all social media platforms, I would delete everything and I would keep Twitter or X, whatever we're calling it. I feel like Nathan has just influenced me to get Twitter, like X Premium, because I've always been wavering, and for slightly different reasons. First of all, I want the folders and the bookmarks, yes, but also I want to be able to edit my tweets. I type so fast and I don't think about what I'm typing, and also I'm always in the wrong keyboard. But I think as long as there is a basic version that everybody can access and that it's free, like there is at the moment, I think we're okay. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's just giving you additional perks. It might boost your things more. It gives you the blue tick. Like, I feel like the perks, there's nothing wrong with them. And I don't know. I like the idea of it. As long as there is the basic version, the free accessible version. It's like Spotify Premium, right? Like, you've got the basic version, you've got all the songs, everyone gets the same songs. You pay for premium, you can download your songs. That's what I do. I pay for Spotify Premium. Or it's like dating apps. You've got a premium version. I feel like if you have the money for it, I don't see anything wrong with it, as long as the basic algorithm is still a decent functioning app, decent functioning social media platform. There's nothing wrong with giving an option for people to pay. Just like you will hear from me in a couple of weeks and I will have started paying for Twitter for X Premium, because it sounds so interesting. And every time I'm like, maybe I should start doing it, because I tweet incessantly and I should have started maybe like a year ago, but I'll look into it. But I don't see anything necessarily. Yeah, I see that nothing wrong with it in my opinion. I like the idea behind having like an exclusive little club that you can be a part of.
I mean, it certainly has its perks, and the fact that Elon Musk has configured it so that blue tick users now are the priority in people's timelines as well. So it's increases engagement from that perspective. Although I'm not sure I agree with him on having two different tiers of premium as well, with the imaginatively named X Premium and X Premium Plus as well. And I mean, to me, the added. It is a bit, X Premium Plus. Yeah, it is a bit of a mouthful. It's a bit clunky, and the added benefits really don't add up to it being like nearly 20 quid a month. I mean, I'm fine with £8 a month. That's a couple of cups of coffee from Cafe Nero, something like that. So that's fine. It's manageable. 20 quid a month, I'm not sure about. But what do you think, Ashleigh?
I have a very, very, very different opinion, I think, to everybody here. I'm breaking the quorum. I am a user of subscription services, so I'm not opposed to the principle in general. I use Spotify Premium. I have Xbox Game Pass, so I'm not opposed to the general idea. But social media in general, for me, one of the main things I use it for is convenience. And the minute that it becomes inconvenient for me to do something for free, I'm not actually going to start paying for that thing. I'm going to go find something else that's free. I think this was before my time, but before Reddit was a big news aggregator, there was a website called Dig. And what Dig did was it made a bunch of its features that it used to be not available anymore. It gave a lot of power to a small handful of users who had a lot of power on the platform. And everybody went to go use Reddit. Because the second it became massively inconvenient to do exactly the same thing you were doing before for free, then I lose interest, basically. The second element in specific that is keeping me away from Twitter Blue or X Premium Plus, is in particular, and it is my big social media as well. I'm same as you, Lekhika. It's my big number one. Is Elon Musk. I'm aware. I'm not naive. I am the product if I'm using the service. At the same time, I'm not giving that man a red dime. He is just a more odious CEO and person I could not imagine, and it eases my conscience just to think that I'm not paying. Well, like I said, we all choose our battles by using Twitter. I contribute to the ad revenue, so I'm aware that that's how it works. But for me, actively paying for it is a bridge too far.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, actually, on why I chose to pay for it. Because fundamentally, if you're using the basic version, you're receiving all the ads, you're receiving all the rubbish basically that's on there. You end up being the product rather than you using the product. And so if I know there's a way that I can make the quality of my timeline better, if there's a way I know I can limit the amount of adverts, because I suppose similar to you, I'm not prepared to pay so much to completely remove the ads, but yet prepared enough to have a better user experience on that, then to me, it's kind of the lesser of two evils. I mean, I suppose it does raise the question of, should social media be free entirely? Elon Musk promotes Twitter or X as the internet's public square. So,
well, sorry, this is something I would point to as an example of that being a fallacy. Basically, the idea that Twitter is specifically because if you pay for it, you get promotion above other tweets. And if you think about what an average thread looked like, even on somebody who was verified or famous, if you look at that like a decade ago, what the average thread and the top responses to that tweet would be before the introduction of paid for Twitter Blue and X Premium versus what it was after. It didn't even get rid of the bots. There's still loads of bots beneath the replies. They just have bot farms that pay for it in bulk because it scales economically. So there's now, from my perception, more bots than ever before. The top replies are usually completely irrelevant. It's people plugging things because they've paid for the service, so you get top eyeball viewing. And if you want to actually find the real interesting discussion on any given platform or thread on Twitter, you have to go right down to the bottom because it's where either the sort of lower ranking verified ones or the unverified ones. And that's where you actually get discussion. You have to scroll all the way down. It's actually made it, in my perception, a worse example of a public square by having a paid for tier that promotes you.
Yeah, I suppose so. But at the same time, if you are paying for it, one of the other benefits is longer tweets. I mean, yes, Lekhika, you mentioned that you can edit your tweets, At the same time, longer tweets, I mean, there's only X amount you can, no pun intended, there's only so much you can do with 280 characters. You know, if you've been given 5,000 characters, that allows for such a much more nuanced conversation. It allows you to get into a bit more detail. It gets you to the crux of the argument in many cases that you can't just do in 2, 3 at most sentences. What do you think, Anoushka or Lekhika?
I think the worry that I have with getting myself onto Twitter Blue X Premium, I'm gonna mix up the names now, is that if you give me unlimited words, I'm not gonna stop talking, and I don't think any of my followers want to see that, because once I start talking, so I use my Twitter account. First of all, it's a diary entry for myself, and that's also where I put a lot of my writings. If you give me unlimited powers to talk forever, I will just talk forever on these tweets. They'll become essays. But no, I think it's a very interesting point of if it's made Twitter, for example, a better place or not. I personally don't know much about what meta verified is, but I will have a look into this, because my Instagram usage is like 5 minutes a day. I'm not on it a lot. But with Twitter, I see the benefits of it. And if I try it, I will like update you guys on it. I will let you know. I'll be tweeting at you guys. I'll be like, guys, I don't know how I feel about this. But I think it's interesting. There are very clear, strong benefits for sure, and there are some drawbacks as well. But I think that's the same with a lot of streaming services. And I feel like somebody said earlier, you just pick your battles, pick who you're paying for. So some of us pay for Spotify, some people don't want YouTube ads, whatever it may be. I feel like we're just a streaming society now. I think that's what we've become. And that, you guys, this is the end of the show. Well, that's all we have time for on Doing the Thing today. So thank you, Anoushka, Ashleigh, and Nathan. Can you guys tell us where our listeners can listen to you guys? That sentence made no sense. Ashleigh, can you go first?
Sure. Well, if you want to hear a bit more of me, you can stay tuned, because I'm up on next of Ashleigh Stiles Live. We're going to be talking current affairs, international relations for the next hour or so. Otherwise, you can find me here on Wizard Radio, or my previous podcast, Humans Divide, is still up on Spotify if you want to go back and listen to those episodes. That's where you find me.
Amazing. Anoushka?
You can find me Sunday evenings from 7 to 8, so just before this.
Brilliant. And Nathan?
You can find me on Wizard Radio Station from 3 to 4 p.m. on Sunday afternoon, Wizard Radio Station, or on X @nat_ag.
Perfect. And you guys can find me every Sunday at 12 to 2, talking about lots and lots of different things from all around the world. And you can find me on Onyx as well, at Lekhika, with lots of A's. Just add a few A's, you'll find me. I'm the only one on there. Now, thank you guys, and everybody listening. Remember to catch new episodes of Doing the Thing live on Wizard Radio every Sunday from 8 p.m. UK time, and on all podcast platforms from Monday morning. And we'll see you guys next week.